Okay, what we're going to do is just, I'll give you a brief synopsis of what occurred. Questions are going to be limited. As far as BCI's investigation, you're going to have to refer those to BCI, but we'll give you a pretty good explanation what led us to James last night. Okay, so at approximately 6:21 p.m., White County SO down in Tennessee contacted us. We have a camera system called Flock, and they're able to basically tune in the Flock, and they were seeing a vehicle that was of interest in a homicide in their jurisdiction. The vehicle belonged to the victim, and the vehicle was seen on Center Ridge Road, and they called us and advised that the vehicle possibly could be driven by their suspect. His name is, stand by, I want to make sure I get this right, Jason Norris, 3/27 of 1983. They considered him to be a suspect and to consider him armed and dangerous. As a result of that Flock hit, we saturated the area and we located the vehicle on James at 4802 James Avenue in the city of North Ridgeville. In the process of us setting up a perimeter, Mr. Norris and another male who resides at that residence actually came out the front door towards the vehicle that he was driving, which was a Jeep product, and officers gave commands, and there was an exchange of gunfire. Mr. Norris was hit one time in the upper torso. He was medically treated by our officers until NRFD arrived, where he was transported to St. John's West Shore. We were advised approximately 8:28 by the hospital that Mr. Norris succumbed to his wounds and was pronounced deceased. BCI was called to the residence to investigate the officer-involved shooting, and we basically stand by on the perimeter, and they conducted their investigation, which wrapped up around midnight of last night.
Do you have any connection as far as what Norris and the local resident were they related?
They were related, possibly a cousin, if you can.
So that is the that residence itself is his grandmother's house.
You said did you come to the mic?
The residence itself is the grandmother's house of the person we shot.
The grandmother?
She was home.
Did one of them use a weapon, and what weapon in our word?
Yes. He produced a weapon, shot at officers. Officers returned fire, hitting the subject one time in the chest.
Go with Norris, who had a gun. Norris fired at police.
Yes, that's what the preliminary investigation is showing. In other words, talking to residents down there, witnessed, and advised us of what occurred. And but yes, as of now, that is what we believe occurred. Now,
A gun found on Norris?
the gun was found in the driveway where Norris fell.
What track gun?
It was a handgun. Outside of that, that's part of BCI's investigation.
Familiar with the Flock system, but you're saying that the sheriff's department in Tennessee, the sheriff's office, they can view that?
Yes, as long as we give them access to the system, all they have to do is ask. That's Flock has changed the game as far as they can put in a vehicle and see where that vehicle hits on a Flock throughout America, throughout the United States. That's when they call us noticing that it was hitting North Ridgeville.
Was it a single hit? And was it a license plate reader or was it a camera?
A license plate reader. That's what Flock is.
And that was a single hit around 621.
Correct. We had multiple hits going into Westlake, coming back from Westlake. We had 2 hits on this particular camera. So that's why we saturated the area. We knew it didn't get to the next block camera, so we knew to look in a certain area.
Do you know anything about what happened in Tennessee?
I don't. Outside of that, it was a girlfriend, and the vehicle belonged to the girlfriend.
The girlfriend.
The girlfriend is deceased.
You say girlfriend, Norris girlfriend.
Yes, that's what we were advised, but I would urge you to contact the asset there just to confirm those facts.
When did that homicide occur?
Sometime, I believe, they gave us a time period of 4 a.m. the previous day.
So for Tuesday
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
was that 4 a.m.
Let's say morning hours. Yes,
Hey, how many died to Timberland and
correct. Yes,
shoot it?
there is a gun involved. Yes, they were looking for a particular weapon at our scene, so I'm assuming it's gun related.
Was that particular weapon similar to the weapon that was recovered in the driveway near North?
That's undetermined yet, but we have reached out to that agency this morning to make sure we're linking evidence they possibly may need.
How long do you believe North made event in North Richmond?
I don't know.
Your block alerts, the block in were all
Yes. Yesterday, the first flock alert we got was at 6:21 p.m. They actually called up here, and that's why we were aware of what they were looking at.
they're going to be next to the
How does it make me feel? Well, they handled it very professionally. In other words, they took it upon themselves, where obviously there was a flock hit. We were told by Tennessee that this is an armed and dangerous suspect. We could very easily said we couldn't find the vehicle or not attempted to find the vehicle, but our guys took it upon themselves to find the vehicle, put themselves in harm's way. And unfortunately, the person is deceased, but the officers were acted very professional. Only 2 shots were fired by our officers. One made contact, but we had multiple officers down at the scene, so they were very restrained. In other words, this wasn't a 30, 40 gunshot event, which it could have been because it's a very populated neighborhood. So I'm very proud of my guys where there was great restraint shown, where 2 shots were taken. Suspect went down. We actually got a compliment from the hospital for what it's worth, that the medical treatment was very professionally done upon his arrival. They said we did everything possible from the applications we applied. So I'm very proud of my people today. Yeah, we interviewed him yesterday. Yes, and this is the gentleman that came up here. I don't think, and this is me looking into what was said. I don't think he was very familiar with North Ridgeville because he was asking neighbors down there where Granny lived. So I don't think this is a guy that spent time here. In other words, he didn't even know where Granny's house was at.
Granny, aunt, or cousin know about the killing in Tennessee?
The only thing that the suspect told them is that he got in a fight with his girlfriend down in Tennessee, and he just needed to get away for some time. Yeah, it's White County. Yes.
I'd like to know.
Yeah, as in the color. Yes. White as in the color. Yes. White. Yes, sir.
How could or anybody else face challenges becoming?
No. In other words, no. It was I don't think they understood what the man was alleged doing in White County. I think they just gave him a place to stay based upon the excuse he used for being up in Ohio.
So what's next?
Yeah, and that's part of BCI's investigation. Obviously, we sit by and we watch as far as and give BCI what they want. In other words, yesterday BCI took the weapons that our officers used. They took the physical evidence that we collected at the hospital. So BCI is basically the investigator of the police department, and their outcome will tell us basically what their opinion is.
As the officer,
They're well, no injuries. They've been put on paid administrative leave per our policy for the next 3 days.
And it's too often.
Yes. Like I said, each officer shot one round.
but only one. But one. And what would you in the drive?
Yes, the Jeep was in the driveway of the home.
Okay, but then
Jeep Compass.
the kind of distance was the between suspect and Keith.
One was, he was in the backyard of the residence, distance, and the other one was in the street on, in front of the residence.
And
So it wasn't a close encounter, but it certainly wasn't.
it's like the case and
That's okay.
this but what called what's that keep that is basically want to see it it's still out there.
Great.
It's great
Yes.
out there.
With a Tennessee plate.
That was the girlfriend bits. So, as you understand it, the Hill's girlfriend in Tennessee steals her car, comes here.
That's how I understand it.
In County.
That's something you're going to have to ask White County. Basically what I can confirm is that White County called here at 6:21 stating that this vehicle was hitting on flock cameras. The guy possibly driving the car is their suspect, Norris, and we should consider him armed and dangerous. That's what I can actually confirm that came out of White County SO.
At that point, when you get that first call, are there then subsequent block hits?
I think we had to
3 total flock hits.
go into
Was it at
So we had the first flock hit we have, and I don't have the times in front of me, but it's all within like a 10-minute period. The first flock hit, he was northbound on State Route 83 at Hedgerow. The next flock hit, he was eastbound on Center Ridge Road at Lear Nagle, so headed towards Westlake. And then I believe it was approximately 6 minutes later, we got another flock hit of him westbound back on Center Ridge Road at Lear Nagle.
so the first one is 621.
I don't have that time in front of me exactly, but I think the 621 is when we actually got the phone call. And then we had no reason to look for this until they notified us. We don't know this guy. So it's not like it's a warrant hit or something. So obviously then we look back, and I believe the history showed that the first time he came in our city was like 602. And then I think the last hit we had was around 614 or 17. I don't remember exactly now.
And he had actually been interacting with me, at least trying to figure out.
So neighbors in the cul-de-sac told us that he was driving through the cul-de-sac. Anybody that was out, he was asking, hey, does anybody know where Ethel lives? So one would assume he knew what road she lived on, but not which house. Ethel is the grandmother.
So there were the ones where the band-aids,
Yes. Yes, sir.
you will have access to the month stock. You do get a picture of him.
This is from this BM3, being to the Tennessee.
You get month got.
Just we didn't make a point, yet not a problem.
At least naming the officers, but
Not at this time.
can you tell us about their experience?
Both of them are on our tactical team. They're very experienced. Obviously, they're put on the SWAT team for particular skill sets, but they're handling the situation well. And obviously, we're checking up on them to make sure they're doing okay.
Is this a tactical response, or do they just happen to be?
Yes, they're shift officers as well. 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Yeah. I have personal experience.
He was involved in that shoot.
No comment.
Does that help energy to kind of?
It does. It does. And the thing, people say, and we were having this conversation this morning. It does, because everybody who goes through something like this has a different perspective and how they deal with it. Some deal with it better than others, but it comes back to the individual. And that's why I think the administrative lead is important, where they can just come to their own thoughts, their own conclusions, but we're here to support them. But yes, it does.
What's the kind of families level of cooperation and understanding, with
The
family of
Mr. Norris, we notified them. They took it well. We called the brother, who is the next of kin, and we believe he either lives in Tennessee or Florida. A family notification was made, but we did advise the people who live at the house, but they took it okay.
their grandma, cousin, then Walker.
Yes, very much so. Anything else?
Well, Jason,
He was born in 83. I'll let you do the math. March of 83. March, yes, 27th of 1983. Yes. Anything else?
that getting from this to very looking to the months after. Yeah, we'll get that over.
We can get you copies.
We'll make 20 bucks copy. Whatever it is.
Summer, can you make copies, please?
We could put out a wall, we can all. Yeah, that's up to you. That's the way. Yeah, I like you. Yeah, more great because disconnect later. I'll get a shot.
Anything else of the group?
Good. Everything was
Good. Anything else, guys? And girls, I'm sorry.
and then the idea when you respect how I can't to be really.
That's going to be up to BCI when they, like we say, they're in charge of the investigation. But we're working on some residential neighborhood video as well. So when that becomes available, obviously we want to show the community that we're being transparent, and we're going to get that out as soon as we can.
Say, well, if they're collecting it or you just collecting it or
Yes. Yes.
and those officers were wearing but
Well, some weren't. What this was, we have a take-home car program. So what happens is we had to saturate this area so people coming from home went directly to the area. So body camera was not available for all the people because instead of coming to the station, they just saturated the area because we were looking for the vehicle. So some of the officers weren't with them body cameras.
Every day when a guy goes home, an officer goes home, they take their body cam and dock it so this stuff can download to evidence purposes and obviously recharge.
So when they get here, they pick it up, put it on, then they go out on their shift. But some of these officers never arrived at the station because they were summoned down to that area. So fortunately for us, this happened where we had plenty of manpower because we still had both shifts available, people coming in and the people who were already here. So we were able to put a lot of people down in that scene. And that's the thing. And there was a tactical advantage because we were setting up on the house as they exited. In other words, we weren't ready to go. We were about ready to get on the PA and call them out. But what happened is they came out before we got on the PA. So we had some tactical advantage.
the two officers fired, they both were body.
One was, one wasn't.
You got the G, you got some travel,
Yes, sir.
and you always on the moon.
Yes. The one male that lives at the house full time and him were going out towards the vehicle, but our officers were already set up on the perimeter. But the idea was once we were set up on the perimeter and ready to go, we were called Mr. Norris out. But while we were in the process of doing that, they both came out the front door.
You got it asking,
Yes.
what was the direct?
There was numerous commands, and we'll let BCI reveal what they, in other words, I don't want to get involved in that actual situation, but yes, there were commands given.
What was the exact thing that led you to that particular?
Our officers knowing where people live. In other words, we knew there was a connection with this house and the state of Tennessee. So obviously, our officers knowing the people they police knew they needed to check James Road. And I give them credit for knowing the public they serve, because obviously they were right.
That vehicle was in that driveway.
That's correct. We knew there was ties to Tennessee at that particular house.
You got prior history with that.
Yes.
So the main school.
Make a records request, and we'll get you everything you need.
It's going to be like.
Yes.
The block number.
4802, sir.
Yeah.
But there was some great police work done. Like I said, I'm most proud of the restraint that they showed. They were put in harm's way, and they responded correctly as far as the number of shots fired, the medical aid that was rendered, getting BCI out here. So I'm very proud of the members of this agency.
Give me a general idea of Ike's Hall, better that house.
You could probably talk credit to that. Just general.
So we've been down there for stuff ranging from domestic disputes, custody disputes, noise complaints. It's going to basically take a full gamut of complaints you would have in a house that's had a lot of trouble over the years.
That particular house, that lot, same always, the same occupant, the cut. They do cut and that's both there.
Correct.
And who is that not?
The other guy has been actively living there with her for several years, I believe.
Can you take a grab?
The grandmother was there, yes.
Sorry. Question was like, how did you know that's the, I know there's background here they call it for, but make it clear the connection of no.
Right.
Go ahead.
So we know the family itself because we've been there so frequently. Like, I remember being on a call there sometime late last summer, and the grandmother Ethel had been in Tennessee for a few months visiting, and we just know because when you go somewhere long enough, you get familiar with the people and who you're dealing with, and obviously it's one of those houses we become very familiar. I know Ethel by first name just because we've been there so much, and she's a real decent person to us. If you talk to the neighbors, it's a problem house. Obviously, it's one of those things where because of that connection, the first officer decided when we were checking all the officers that were summoned in, like he said, the support car guys even that were coming in, they all just started saturating the entire area. So we were checking different areas that might have a connection. And one of the officers saw that Jeep in that driveway, and then he let everybody know, and then we just had everybody go to the area.
So it was a case where you heard the name. Did you recognize the last name?
As soon as the officer saw the Jeep, he said it was at that address. Every one of us knows that address. That's just how often we've been there.
That is the connection up in the doors and the
Correct.
Yes. In other words, outside of the Tennessee connection, we didn't know of Norris being at that residence ever meaningful.
It's fine.
Correct. Knowing there was Tennessee connections. Yes.
Look, literally, you guys knew that she has family in Tennessee. You knew Tennessee was calling about a vehicle up here, and that was the like.
Yes, we're good, Art.
Good catch, Chief.
Thank you. Anything else?
Were any of the rounds recovered that he caught?
Yes, and that's going to be a question, but BCI did share that with me. Yes,
Did your the round? Here we go.
that's something you're at to ask BCI.
Huh?
You good?
Got it,
All right, guys. Thank you very much for you.
Thank you.
better?